What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Credit Plug channel, where we talk about how to build credit, how to establish relationships with banks and financial institutions, and most importantly, how to get you access to high limit credit funding. If you're new to our channel or if you've been checking out our content, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as smash the like button. It really helps our content reach a wider audience, and we greatly appreciate the support. So for today's video, I have some major news to share with you guys. So recently, Wells Fargo has announced that they're closing all personal lines of credit. So not only are they not accepting new applications for personal lines of credit, they're also closing all existing personal lines of credit. So customers have received 60-day notices that their personal line of credit will be closed indefinitely. These lines of credit range from a minimum of $3,000 all the way up to $100,000.
Yesterday, CNBC put out an article. Wells Fargo tells customers it's shuttering all personal lines of credit. The bank is shutting down all existing personal lines of credit in the coming weeks and no longer offer the product. The revolving credit line typically allows customers to borrow between $3,000 up to $100,000. Wells Fargo warned customers that the account closures may impact your credit score. Wells Fargo recently reviewed its product offerings and decided to discontinue offering new personal and portfolio lines of credit and close all existing accounts. The move would let the bank focus on credit cards and personal loans. Wells Fargo CEO has been forced to make difficult decisions during the coronavirus pandemic, offloading assets and deposits and stepping back from some products because of the limitations imposed by the Federal Reserve. In 2018, the Fed barred Wells Fargo from growing its balance sheet until it fixes compliance shortcomings revealed by the bank's fake accounts scandal. So for those of you who aren't aware, several years ago, this is probably dating back to the early 2000s, Wells Fargo was involved in a scandal in which 3.5 million accounts were open on behalf of customers without their knowledge. Now, Wells Fargo did have a class action lawsuit brought against them and had to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in restitution. Last year, Wells Fargo also halted new home equity lines of credit. The bank also withdrew from a segment of the auto lending business. Senator Elizabeth Warren made a tweet: "Not a single Wells Fargo customer should see their credit score suffer just because their bank is restructuring after years of scams and incompetence. Sending out a warning notice simply isn't good enough. Wells Fargo needs to make this right."
Now, Wells Fargo will continue to focus on credit cards as well as personal loans, but they're no longer being able to offer personal lines of credit. Now, there's some differences between a personal line of credit, a credit card, and a personal loan. Now, from a bank's point of view, the personal lines of credit actually make the least profit for the banks because they're only making interest on the personal line of credit when people are actually utilizing the line of credit. If the line of credit is just sitting there, the banks aren't going to make money. Now, banks do make a lot of money on credit card through transaction fees, and they also make money off of the interest from personal loans. So from a bank's perspective, the personal loans as well as the credit cards are going to be more profitable than a personal line of credit. Customers are also going to be more likely to swipe a credit card versus a personal line of credit. So the way the personal lines of credit work is you transfer from the line of credit to your checking account, and then you can get access from it through your debit card. Now, it's unclear why exactly Wells Fargo has decided to do this. There are some speculation that because of the economic conditions due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of people losing jobs, this is a move by Wells Fargo to reduce their risk. Now, for those of you who are familiar, several years ago, this was during the mid to early 2000s, Wells Fargo was actually involved in a class action lawsuit because of millions of fake accounts that were created. But what makes this move by Wells Fargo to close all personal lines of credit kind of strange is that Wells Fargo is one of the largest banks in the United States. So you got Chase, Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo. So Wells Fargo is one of the largest banks in the country. And this is going to have a ripple effect because there's a lot of people who have been customers with Wells Fargo for years and years, and all of a sudden their personal line of credit is being shut down. So not only do they not have access to that line of credit, their credit profile will also be impacted because that account will now be closed. One of the reasons why we cover a lot of different financial institutions on this channel is because we want you to be able to avoid this type of situation by having multiple banking relationships. If one line of credit or one credit card gets shut down, you still have options. But with some of these larger banks where people may have been with these banks for decades and that was the only financial institution that they actually use, all of a sudden their line of credit is being shut down and they're not going to have any options. So we try to cover a wide range of different financial institutions just so that you have some different options. We especially like to focus on credit unions because credit unions are going to be more generous than some of the big banks. The big banks are also going to have much more exposure, especially during an economic downturn. And you'll see this often with some of the major banks where they're closing accounts, reducing customers' limits, or even slashing their rewards programs. So the big banks are going to be a little bit more susceptible to major macroeconomic events. So things like the COVID-19 pandemic, where millions and millions of people have lost their jobs. So some of these banks have a lot of exposure because they're just so big and they have a lot of customers. If you notice, we've never covered Wells Fargo on the Credit Plug channel. You can go through all of our videos. And I was never a big fan of Wells Fargo. So back in 2012, I actually applied for a Wells Fargo secured credit card and got denied, even though I had the money in my bank account. So what I did was I deposited $3,000 into a savings account, applied for a secure card, got denied, couldn't figure out why. And since then, I've never really tried to establish a relationship with Wells Fargo. I say all this to say that having multiple banking relationships is a great thing because when something like this happens, you still have other options. Now, Wells Fargo will still be offering personal credit cards and personal loans, but the personal lines of credit are no longer going to be available. And I really like personal lines of credit because they offer more flexibility versus like a credit card cash advance. Because with a personal line of credit, you can draw down on the full amount and you do have easier access to cash. Whereas with a personal credit card, if you're taking a cash advance, first of all, you're going to be paying a much higher interest rate on that cash advance. And sometimes you can't pull off the full amount. Some credit cards may only allow you to do 30 or 40%, or you have to come up with some creative way to extract the cash from the credit card. Whereas with a personal line of credit, it's very straightforward. You just transfer from your line of credit to your checking account and you immediately have access to the money. So if there's anyone out there who's about to have their personal line of credit from Wells Fargo shut down and you're looking for some alternatives, definitely check out the link tree in the description of the video. We have a ton of different financial resources, different credit cards, lines of credit, business credit cards, fintechs, all types of different financial resources for you to go check out. Anyways, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Let me know your comments and questions in the comment section right down below. And until next time, take it easy and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.